Hello everybody, welcome to Manor Park Classics. My name's Tim. I'm here today to shoot the first video of a series of 3, which I'll talk about buying a classic. Maybe you're dipping your toe into the water for the first time, going to purchase your first classic car. Or maybe you've got a few classic cars already and you've got a few that you've bought under your belt already and you're thinking about buying another one. Here's some useful hints and tips for you just to consider when buying your first classic car. So the first stage when you're looking at buying a classic car is just to decide which car you actually want. So do you want a saloon? Do you want a roadster? Do you want an estate? Decide on the make, decide on the model, and then you can actually do some background checks with regards the history of that make or model. What kind of trim level do you want? What's available out there as well? The other thing to consider is your budget. So buying in auction, obviously, some people can get a bit carried away at times. So set your boundaries, set your limit, decide how much you want to spend on a particular car. And when you come to auction, stick to it. The other thing that you need to consider as well is insurance. So obviously, the younger you are, the more expensive the insurance will be. Obviously, depending on the make and model of the car, but generally that tends to be the case. So all you youngsters out there, get a few years under your belt in terms of no claims discounts, and hopefully your insurance costs will reduce. If you're an older driver like my good self, well, I can benefit from the age that I am for insurance costs, which is great. So just remember, insurance costs are key. We're going to have a look at the next stage in a tick, and well, just go over there and I'll show you another car. So the second stage is actually going to see the car that you want to buy. This is the exciting bit. This is the bit that gets the juices flowing, as it were. So you've done your checks, you know what model you want, you know how much money you want to spend on it. Let's go and have a look at the car. So this is a 1986 Ford Escort. It's in very nice condition, this one. Available in our next auction to buy. Cars of this era tended to rot, okay? So that's the first thing that you need to look at. These cars are nearly 40 years old. So if you don't feel comfortable about inspecting a car yourself, take somebody with you who knows something about them. Or indeed, you can also pay for an independent survey of the car. So typically, you want to be looking at this car, like I say, for rot. You're looking at the sills, you're looking at the front valance, the rear valance, you're looking at the wheel arches as well. Have a look at the MOT history. So is it consistent with the mileage? Is there anything on there that you need to be wary of? What you're after really is a nice clean MOT history, showing that the car has been used over its life and showing that it's been maintained. So have a look at the service records of the car as well. Make sure on something like this that the cam belt and water pump have been changed as well. Make sure it's been regularly serviced with oil change as well, and that will all help to the longevity of the car. The other thing that you can do as well is just speak to people who've maybe owned this type of car before. What problems did they experience? What do they need to be thinking about in terms of maintaining the car in the best possible shape? The old adage is if you look after a classic car, the classic car will look after you. And that's dead right. Classic cars tend not to like to stand in a darkened area for too long. They like to be used. So that's always something to look at. If there's big gaps in the MOT history, I'm not saying it's necessarily a huge concern, but it's just something to be wary of as well. If you can take the car out for a test drive, even better. Obviously, you need to arrange your insurance for that. But typically speaking, most classic car dealers will have an insurance policy whereby you should be able to go and test the car. Don't go for a 2-mile drive, go for a 10-mile drive, go for a 15-mile drive. Make sure that you feel comfortable driving a classic car. A classic car won't drive like a modern day car, okay? So you just need to bear that in mind. The brakes might be a little bit different from a servo-assisted setup that you get with modern day cars. It might not accelerate quite as quickly. It might not handle quite as nicely as a modern day car, but they have plenty of character. And that's what you're buying into, bit of character and a bit of nostalgia as well. So you've decided what car you want. You've gone and looked at it and you've actually bought it. So in this case, you bought this lovely Mini Cooper 1995. This one's a fuel injected version, again, available for sale in our next auction. Now, cars like this and similar classics have a thriving club scene. Generally speaking, British classics, there's lots and lots of other enthusiasts in the country who will help you maintain and run your car. Mini clubs far and wide throughout the UK, really well supported. In addition, British cars, in terms of parts and mechanicals, parts certainly tend to be more readily available than some of the more exotic, shall I say, classics. Most offering next day delivery as well. So if you go down the British route, you stand a good chance of being able to source all the parts you need for something like this. That's an important thing to remember. You don't really want to be waiting a couple of weeks for a wheel bearing when you want to be out and about in your new classic car, showing it off to everybody. The other thing as well is, linking back to my last comment, use it and enjoy it. Minis typically don't like to live outside. So if you've got any form of protection that you can offer them, then great. If you've got a garage, maybe stick it into storage over the winter, or at least get a breathable car cover. There are some very cheap car covers out there, but don't buy them. Buy the best car cover you can possibly afford. You really want one that breathes, because the cheaper ones tend to trap moisture between the paint and the cover, and then the paint blisters, and I know from experience that that does happen. So something to bear in mind there as well. So hopefully you found that useful. That was just a quick kind of run through some headlines in terms of buying a classic car. Like I say, whether or not it's your first classic car or you've got a few under your belt already. But the main thing is just enjoy them, use them and enjoy them, and hopefully we'll see you all soon.